Hey guys, it's Stoof here. Welcome back to my channel. In this video, we are going to learn how to paint a mama black bear and her two cubs. They are in the shadows in the background of this landscape painting I put together. I have parts 1 through 3 of learning how to paint the aspen trees in the description under this video if you would like to learn how to paint that part. But this part of the video is going to focus on painting the bears. And that's the easiest part of this whole painting if you ask me. We have less colors that we need to use, and we really just need to focus on getting those shapes right. So I'm starting by using just some black with a little bit of ultramarine blue blended together here. I'm using oil paints, and the brush I have here is a number 4 flat tip brush. And the first thing I want to sketch is just an outline of the shape of the bear, and this is definitely the trickiest part, getting those proportions accurate. So I'm looking at the size of the head of the bear in comparison to the back body part of the bear, and you can see that it's about a quarter. The head is about a quarter of the size of the body. I then decide that I want to change the angle of the bear a little bit to make him a little bit longer. So then I make the head, I extend that head just a little bit farther to the right here. As you can see, I made that hump just a little bigger. This is a pretty big mama bear, and I gave her a little more arch in her back just to kind of start to round out the back side of her body there. I just re-sketched in that head. You have a circle shape for the main part of the head, a smaller circle there for the snout part, as you can see, and 2 circles for the ears. Once you get the basic shape of the head and the back, then you just basically add 2 rectangles for the place where the feet go. There's a rectangle in the back there, and there's a rectangle in the front. The front, you could even do 3 rectangles if you want to show 2 legs there. And then there's a little bit of a back leg in the background. You can see I just blocked that in there as well. So that's in general how I blocked in the shape of the bear. It helps to think about it in basic shapes and then block those basic shapes in, make sure your portions look somewhat accurate, and then you can start blocking in the color for the bear. So I started filling in the whole shape of that mama bear with black and some ultramarine blue. Just going back and forth with the brush and filling in all that space, leaving the head not filled in just yet. And I'm just starting to fill in a little more blue. So here I'm mixing in some cobalt blue for the head. This is also so that I don't lose where the head is in comparison to the body. I'll do a little bit more layering and highlighting later to distinguish the head from the body. Starting to add blue in spots where there might be subtle highlights. Remember, these bears are in shadow, so we're not going to have any warm colors on the bear, no dramatic highlights. If you want to paint bears that are right in sunlight, this is not going to be a good tutorial for you. There's going to be a totally different color palette for bears that are in sunlight. The snout is what we go to next. So for the snout, I mixed some ochre and some umber into my blue-black combo there. So I wanted to mute down the brownish color of the snout by adding a little cool blue, and that's how we got that snout to be that color there. You just add some pure black for the nose, and you kind of take the top part of the circle for the snout and make a triangle. And that is how you get that top part of the snout where the 2 eyes are. And you can add little black dots where the eyes are as well. Here I'm starting to sketch in one of the baby bears in front of the mama bear, so I'm just using pure black here for this one, also to differentiate the space between this bear and the bear behind it. I will go back and add highlights later. But this bear, the shape of this bear is a little different because the angle is different. This bear is facing forward a little more, so you have more of like an oval shape that's tilted 45 degrees to the left, If you can see that there with a little leg sticking out in the lower left. So if you think about that as an oval shape, then put like a trapezoid or like a rectangle for that leg on the lower left. That'll help you get the basic shapes going here. Now I'm starting to add those highlights there to help differentiate the bears, like the bear behind it from this baby bear. And you can see also where the head is now. So in proportions, when we're looking at proportions from the head to the body, in the baby bears, there's going to be a bigger head in proportion to the body. And that's kind of also what makes them so cute. Here I'm just starting to add some shadows under them. Even though they're in shadow already, it is going to be a little darker under the bears. So I'm just making those muted shadows right under them so that they have some weight to them. They're not just like floating on the grass there. And for the second cub, we have another set of basic shapes. To really simplify it, you have a big circle for the body, like a big oval for the body, a small circle for the head, that's about a third of the size of the body, and then you have two rectangles for the front legs, and you can see one rectangle in the back left for that back leg. If you want to make it a little bit more realistic, those legs kind of curve in. You can see there a little bit at the bottom under their chest. They start to come in towards the center of the body a little more. And then don't forget the ears as well. The ears are pretty important for a black bear. Next, I go in and paint the little snouts for the two cubs. So the snout takes up a good portion of the face there. I did it a little differently than I did the mama bear, because the black bears are facing us a little more. Their snout's not kind of sticking out as much. And then after getting the snout blocked in, I start to add very subtle highlights to the bear again, just mixing in a little bit of cobalt, maybe a hint of umber, a tiny bit of white, just to get it as like a neutral gray that is lighter in value than the black. And you don't want to add this everywhere. You just want to add it in spots where little bits of light might be picking up on the fur, and that helps to show depth in the bear and not make it look flat. So I used oil paint for this tutorial, and after blocking in the basic shapes of the bears, I let the paint dry for a week, and here I'm coming back with my second session to add another layer of detail to these bears. Here I'm using a liner brush, and I'm taking that tiny brush and starting to add subtle highlights again to the face, tops of the ears, creating kind of like a little oval shape on the top of the head there where the highlights are. The color here is cobalt with a little bit of umber, maybe a little ultramarine, hint of white, a little bit of black. It's just like a neutral blue. It's not super vibrant. And I'm just adding those little highlights there with the liner brush, just making little tick marks. Put a couple little tick marks over the eyes to create a little more depth in the face there, show where the eye sockets are. And then I'm mixing in a little bit of ochre and umber there to add highlights to the snout on the one side. And then here I played around with adding little highlights where the eyes are, but I think that made them look a little scary, so I went back to making the eyes dark. There's a little more of a highlight on the left back side of the mama bear. And adding these little bits of fur, highlights to the fur, help to build that depth in the bear, help to make it look like a furry, realistic bear. If you're making your bears a larger scale than this, like they're going to take up a bigger part of the canvas, you can get even more detail into the fur in the bears. These bears are only a couple inches big on my canvas, so they aren't quite as large, so it's hard to get a lot of detail in them. Went in with another round of highlights on the bear's face to help the face stand out from the body even more, and then I start working on the cubs. I wanted to differentiate the top of the cub's head from the rock behind it, so I just fixed that up a little bit, added a couple of rocks to the left side, to the right side of the bear, and then I started to add more highlights to the cubs, keeping that cool blue color for the highlights. Started with like a rough, bright highlight there on the right side of the bear, and then I started to cool that down a little bit, mixing in more black and ultramarine blue. Still using my liner brush here. Trying not to overdo the highlights is important. I think they're a little bit overdone, so I'll come back and make some adjustments there. I also just thinned down that bear a little bit by adding more of the leaf color to the right side of the bear. He was looking a little bulky on one side. So if you ever need to step back, take a look at your bears and see if something looks off, you can try tweaking like the sides of them, like the proportions, just to make those adjustments and see if you can fix it. Next, I'm adding these little highlights to the cub on the left side. He's a little smaller because he's a little farther in the background there. And he's also got some subtle little highlights on his back and his legs. For the ears, if you just get that little highlight on the top rim of the ear, that's really all you need. And then you want to have little shadows for the eye sockets, and that's how you get the eyes to show up there. And then highlights on the top central part of the forehead usually. And that's basically it, guys. It's pretty simple to paint these bears that are in shadow. I hope you guys enjoyed this painting tutorial for Mama Black Bear and her little cubs. This painting was inspired by my travels to Glacier National Park in Montana. In case you were wondering what sparked my interest for creating this painting, if you guys have recommendations for future painting tutorials, leave a comment under this video for tutorials you would like to see, and I will get to them as soon as I can. Thanks for watching, guys. Have a great day and happy painting. Bye-bye.